Go from vice president to stable boy in no time at all. They can be selling it one week and shoveling it the next. What a summer we've had. There's been hurricanes in the Gulf and a drought and a heat wave in the Midwest. It's been tougher on the weatherman. I heard a forecaster say the other night, tomorrow there will be a 30% chance I know what I'm talking about. Don't you love the TV weathermen? There's only one other group of people who make more mistakes, but at least we get to vote for them. Say, how about that Russian TV press conference the other night? I don't know how spontaneous the press conference was. 10 Russian reporters showed up an hour early to pick up their questions. And that Russian pilot said he couldn't tell the difference between a commercial airliner and a spy plane. That's like mistaking Dolly Parton for Twiggy. Did you see that conference? Of course, the Russians always tell the truth. If they were Pinocchio, their nose would run from here to the Aleutian Islands. Their tongue has more forks in it than the Pasadena Freeway. Did you see where President Reagan finally got a hearing aid? Did you see that? Yeah. People have been telling him to get one for years, but he couldn't hear them. I was relieved when I found out it was a hearing aid. When I first saw him, I thought he was bugged. And when the doctors examined his ear, they were surprised to find nerve damage. They thought it might just be a jelly bean stuck in there. Actually, it was Congress who talked him into getting it. They've been telling him to stick it in his ear for years. Now, I think it's great that the president wasn't ashamed to wear a hearing aid. Now, if we could just get Congress to admit they need a muffler. Hey, and did you read where the Statue of Liberty is falling apart and needs $30 million worth of repairs? I thought something might be loose the last time I flew into New York. I waved and she waved back. Now, she really looks bad. Every time a ship goes by now, they put a bag over her head. Phyllis Diller is helping all she can. All she asks in return is any spare parts they might throw away. You know, Los Angeles is starting getting ready for the '84 Olympics. The first event will be an obstacle race to see which athlete can get out of LAX airport first. And the timekeeper's going to use a calendar. No, they made the airport a double-decker, which is quite a big help. We now have 2 layers of traffic not going anywhere. And a lot of people are worried about what might happen if terrorists come to L.A. My attitude is, if they get mugged, they get mugged. Now, athletes aren't allowed to take any foreign chemicals into their bodies, which means they won't be allowed to breathe while they're in Los Angeles. Even after the games are over, it'll be tough to tell the winners. In Hollywood, everyone wears a gold chain around his neck. I am doing this show with NASA, and let me tell you, they've given me one of those beautiful metallic silver spacesuits the guys wear. It's beautiful. Doesn't fit me, but I'm going to have the best-dressed turkey in America next Thanksgiving. And the last flight they made had everything I've always wanted in a space flight. Adventure, excitement, a doctor on board. And space medicine is a little different. When one astronaut told the doctor he had a headache, the doctor said, take 2 asteroids and call me in the morning. And the exam was covered by astronauts' health plan. It's with Mutual of Mars. The Russians must be getting jealous of our successes in space. Today, the Kremlin said they'd put 5 doctors in orbit, and 3 of them wanted to go. Reagan wrote a letter to NASA that said, I'd like to take a shuttle flight to an orbiting space station and stay there for 2 years. And he signed it Walter Mondale. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Here are the original 7. Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, and here's John Glenn. We can't show you John because he took off from Cape Canaveral and now wants to land in the Oval Office. Gus Grissom, Wally Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Deke Slayton. Here are some of the flyers that really inspired these men. Charles Lindbergh, Amelia Earhart, Eddie Rickenbacker, James Doolittle, Wiley Post, Will Rogers, and Howard Hughes. Here he is in his Spruce Goose. On May the 5th, 1961, Alan Shepard became our first man in space. Project Mercury was underway.
Lift off and the clock is started. 7 here. Fuel is go. 4G. 5.5 cabin. Oxygen go. All systems are go.
The ears of the world were listening. And the eyes of the world were watching.
Okay, switching to manual pitch. Manual pitch.
Launchings became live spectaculars. Luminaries came from all over the world to share in the excitement. Egyptian President Anwar Sadat. King Gustav of Sweden. Here's Prince Charles. He's in the lunar rover getting a driving lesson from astronaut John Young. I hope he told him you drive on the right side of the road on the moon. And the Vice Premier of China, Deng Xiaoping. And from far-off Aspen, Colorado, John Denver. Here he is at the Space Center in Houston. I don't know anyone who's more interested in our space program than John is. While his unique style as a singer-songwriter has produced platinum hits like Country Roads, Calypso, and Leaving on a Jet Plane, his first motion picture with George Burns was a show business milestone, because he's the first actor ever to share a makeup man with God. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the charming and multi-talented John Denver right here. I like you, John.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you something. Is it really you? What happened to the glasses?
Well, you know, I was always putting them down someplace, and I couldn't find them. And so I have a pair of... I've lost the glasses that I used to find my glasses.
Well, I'll tell you, it's great to have you on the show honoring NASA. And before we get into that talk, I think the folks would like to know a little more about your background. Let's start with your birth.
Oddly enough, that's exactly where it did start.
What a coincidence. Me too.
Yes, I would imagine. I was born December 31st, 1943.
You were born on New Year's Eve?
Yes, sir. I was a bottle baby. Champagne.
Look, when I was born, I had a different kind of problem. I was a 14-month baby.
14 months?
Yeah, we lived in an apartment house that didn't allow children. Mother held on as long as she could. No, it was quite a birth.
I'll bet.
The doctor slapped me and the landlord slapped my mother. John, if NASA ever needed a publicity man or a one-man rooting section, it would have to be you. You're a real fan, aren't you?
More than a fan, Bob. I am an authority on space.
Really?
Yes, sir. I've seen every episode of Star Trek, some of them 2 or 3 times. I have seen all of the Star Wars pictures. When the Jedi returned, I was there waiting.
No.
Yes. From the time I was 3, I have been an honorary space cadet. Besides, I think anything that magnificent, that beautiful, anything as fascinating as that, has got to be thoroughly explored.
I feel the same way, but Bo Derek just doesn't answer my calls.
When I was a little boy, I used to dream of being an astronaut.
Really? Isn't that a coincidence? When I was a little boy, I used to dream of the automobile being invented.
Look, when they allow passengers to the moon, I want to be on that first flight.
Well, me too. Will you be in the smoking or non-smoking section?
I don't care. I really don't care. I just think it would be such a thrill to stand there on the moon.
Yeah, and watch your luggage being unloaded on Jupiter. John, do you really think NASA will be taking passengers to the moon?
Well, I can guarantee that Amtrak won't do it. Wouldn't you love to blast off in one of those spaceships?
Oh, boy, it would beat your Rocky Mountain High, wouldn't it?
I'll say.
Wouldn't you be a little afraid, though?
No, not at all. Besides, I'll take my guitar with me, and I'll sing all the way to the moon.
Oh, all right, if you insist, but I was hoping they'd have a movie. So you want to be... So you want to be the first civilian in outer space. Do you think you can work it?
Well, I can if they don't count Dean Martin.
No, well, he cheated anyway. He did it without a shuttle. Are you ready for your song?
Yes, sir, I am, Bob. Now, the poem High Flight was written by a fellow named John Gillespie McGee, and he was a 21-year-old Air Force pilot in the Canadian Air Force. And a month after he wrote this poem, he was killed in a plane crash. Now, Bob, there's not a pilot anywhere in the world that doesn't know this poem. And we added a chorus to it and gave it some music, and I'm privileged to sing it for you this evening.
Well, I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you.
Right.
Slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the sky on laughter's silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling murk of sun-split clouds and done 100 things. I've wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence, hovering there, I've chased the shouting winds aloft and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. The higher we fly, the farther we go, the closer we are to each other. The darker the night, the brighter the star. In peace go my sisters and brothers. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent lifting mind I trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touch the face of God. The higher we fly, the farther we go, the closer we are to each other. The darker the night, the brighter the star. In peace go my sisters and brothers.
October 1968, 3 courageous astronauts wrote a new chapter in our conquest of outer space. It was Apollo 7, and experts call it the perfect flight. Not only was it a great scientific achievement, it was a breakthrough in the world of entertainment. The first outer space television show. The time was fast approaching when their aeronautical and engineering skills would no longer be enough. For future space appearances, they would also have to be polished actors. We did a show with the Apollo 7 crew in Houston a few weeks after they landed, and this was our version of the acting school for astronauts. Walt Cunningham, Don Isley, and Wally Schirra.
I sure hope we have a pretty teacher after looking at those 2 bearded faces for 11 days.
10 shot. Right face. Left face. Left face. Shoulder arms. Charge!
Charge? How do we get out of this chicken outfit?
Hey, Walt, who is that guy?
With that nose and those ears, it could be Mr. Spock.
Look at that nose. It'd be great for prying open a stuck hatch.
Gentlemen, you all know why we're here. NASA wasn't too happy with your TV shows from space.
I thought we were pretty funny.
Are you kidding? You're lucky you weren't canceled in mid-flight.
But, sir, we accomplished our mission. It was successful.
Successful? Did you see your rating? You were 3 points behind a Gale Storm rerun. It won't do, gentlemen. You got to give the people a show. Excitement lasts. Believe me, I know. Why do you think I've been a star for 25 years?
Luck?
Watch it. Nobody likes a smart astronaut. This is a new course for astronauts called How to Be a Hit on Television, and I'm your instructor. I want to tell you your delivery needs work. You've all got some jokes, so let's try them.
Hi, Earthlings. This is Walt Cunningham, the funny astronaut. We've just completed our 39th orbit. Aren't you glad you're not paying us by the mile?
The astronaut of the future will have to be a combination of brains and talent. He'll have to know every facet of show business. He'll have to be a producer, a director, a choreographer, and performer. He'll have to sing, dance, and be brilliantly funny. He'll have to know the art of makeup, how to handle scenery, how to be... He sure will have to know something, I'll tell you that. I want to say that the next time wait a minute. Wait a minute, hold it. Where are we going?
Congratulations, you just qualified for the Apollo 8 flight.
Wait a minute, hold it, wait a minute. I have one question.
What is it?
They have Medicare on the moon. Weightlessness must be a wild sensation. When the astronauts got up in Skylab, they finally had the room and time to have some fun with it. Watch this. Here's astronaut Charles Conrad having some fun. His high school gym teacher must have been a hamster. And here's Jack Lausma. He'd be perfect for the Olympics. As soon as he lands, we'll give him his gold medal. Here's Alan Bean demonstrating what to do when you can't wait for an elevator. What's Alan doing now? Sliding into second? Nope. Push-ups with a friend, Jack Lausma. He's not heavy. He's my commanding officer. Owen Garriott didn't want to be left out. I worked with an act like this in vaudeville. The Flying Push-Up Brothers. So much for the warm-up, now for the real thing. Here's Ed White taking the ultimate exercise, a nice brisk walk in space. Boy, I'd love to try that. What am I talking about? I did. Back in 1965, I did this little bit with my fellow astronaut, Douglas Fairbanks, Jr. He played Captain Thurgood Lockwood, and I played Sergeant Farley Fowler. We've been in orbit for 3 years and 26 days.
Outside of you, I haven't seen another human being for 3 years.
That's luckier than I've been. The coward dies 1,000 deaths. The hero, the valiant, tastes of death but once.
Yeah, well, go ahead. You be valiant, and I'll keep score. Are you sure this is the way Timothy Leary started? I think this plug is AC. I'm DC.
Now, hurry up. I can't stand in this hatchway all day. It's bad for my sinus.
Yes, sir. I'll haul myself back in my lifeline. Mice out here?
What's wrong?
My line's been cut. What'll I do?
Ad lib. Who's there?
Say, I've got to tell you that I didn't feel any older when Shirley Temple became a foreign ambassador, and I didn't feel older when Hollywood's Andy Hardy, Mickey Rooney, became a grandfather. But what really had me checking for wrinkles and gray hair was the news that little Marie Osmond got married and last April had a baby. Here she is, singer, dancer, actress, wife, and mother, Marie Osmond, right here. They think your last act was a smash, see? Welcome to the show, Mrs. Stephen Craig, huh?
That's right. Thank you, Bob. It's great to be here. By the way, Stephen is the name of my baby, too. He'll be 5 months old tomorrow.
How about that? Isn't that wonderful? I like it. 5 months old. Has he sung his first notes yet?
No, but he cries beautifully. He's right on key, you know?
Oh, well, Marie, tell us about this lucky husband of yours.
Well, Bob, he's almost too good to be true. He's tall, good-looking, has a beautiful physique. He was a basketball star. He's a very successful businessman, and he encourages me in my career. Has a wonderful disposition. We never fight. He's considerate, warm, affectionate.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who tuned in late, this is not Fantasy Island. Would you like to throw a couple more minutes in on about the baby?
Sure. You see, he's a happy, healthy baby going on 6 months.
And he opens in Las Vegas next week.
No, we had to cancel that. He was uncomfortable in the sequin diapers.
Sequin diapers? Well, it never bothered Liberace. Tell me, you plan to have any more?
Oh, definitely. But right now, you know, little Stephen, he won't run short of any playmates. He has 39 first cousins, all under the age of 14.
You know, you've got enough there to form your own Mormon Tabernacle Choir. You know, Marie, we've got a lot in common. You have 8 brothers, and I had 6.
Well, that might be true, but it was a little bit different in my case. You see, being the only girl, they pampered me and protected me.
Yeah, just like my brother did for me.
Really?
Yeah, I wore curls till I was 17. But it wasn't so bad. I won a Lillian Gish look-alike contest.
How did you lose your curls?
Indians. Why are you staring at me like that?
Well, I was trying to picture you as a baby, and I can't.
Why not? They had babies back in those days. For a matter of fact, I was a very unique baby. I didn't see daylight until I was 6 weeks old.
Well, how could that be?
Well, my mother was nearsighted, and she kept diapering the wrong end.
That would explain your unique profile.
Thank you.
You know, Bob, I want to thank you so much for having me on the show with all these wonderful astronauts.
Well, it's a kick for me, too. How would you like to take a trip on one of those shuttles?
Well, I'm all ready. I would love to be the first performer to entertain in space. I mean, wouldn't you love that?
Oh, absolutely. And if my act didn't go over, I could be the first to lay an egg in space. In fact, they might even put it in orbit for me. Are you ready for our moon medley?
I'm all ready. You know, some of the others on the show, they've walked on the moon.
Yeah.
Well, at least we can sing about it.
You're so right. Let's go.
Oh, yes.
By the light
By the light
of the silvery moon, I want to spoon to my honey I'll croon love's tune. Honeymoon,
honeymoon,
keep a shining in June. Your silvery beams will bring love dreams. We'll be cuddling soon.
we'll be cuddling soon.
By the silvery moon.
And you must remember snow time ain't no time to stay outdoors and spoon. So shine on harvest moon for me and my gal.
You know, there seems to be a difference of opinion about the color of the moon. Because Rogers and Hart described it something like this. Blue moon, you saw me standing alone.
Oh, someone else wrote, the moon was yellow and the night was young.
Yeah, let me see. There's moon over Miami.
Moonlight in Vermont.
Yeah, and moonlight on the Ganges.
Moonlight and roses.
Yes, and how about moonlight cocktail?
Oh, yes, from which you probably get a little moon glow.
And how about moonlight serenade?
Well, that must be the national anthem for Moon Country.
Yes, which must have this running through it. Moon River, Andy Williams song. I'm crossing you in style someday.
Oh, dream maker, you heartbreaker.
Mommy.
Wherever you're going, I'm going your way.
Somewhere there's music.
Oh, yeah.
How sweet the tune. Somewhere there's heaven. How high the moon.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words,
Come fly with me, come fly, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic views, watch the earth from miles away.
a shuttle flight would be just right, so name the day.
Come fly with me.
Oh, yeah! Come fly with me. Come fly, let's fly
new recruit, mon capitaine. Papers?
On July 16, 1969, the crew of Apollo 11 prepared for a journey that has been called the greatest single step in human history. A flight to the moon, manned exploration, and a safe return back to Earth. It was 4 in the morning when Mission Commander Neil Armstrong, Command Module Pilot Michael Collins, and Lunar Module Pilot Edwin Aldrin Jr. began to suit up for their historic flight. Other astronauts had made this same trip to the launch pad, but never with such worldwide anticipation.
11. Engine ready, light on. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Engine sequence start. 1, 0. Launch commit. We have a liftoff. All engines building up thrust. Moving out. Clear the tower.
Roger, tower clear. Roger, Tom, you got good thrust on all engines. You're right on the money. 30 seconds, we're on the way. Stand by for
At 9:32 a.m., the first stage rockets ignited and cast an orange glow over the Florida sky. The liftoff was perfect, and now it would be smooth sailing with only 239,136 miles to go.
Good radar data. We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good. 30 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. Good. Okay. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy you down, Eagle. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. And we're getting a picture on the TV. There's a great deal of contrast in it, and currently it's upside down on our monitor, but we can make out a fair amount of detail. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Sunday, July 20th, 1969. Around the world, nearly 1 billion people watched this moment on television as the first man from Earth prepared to set foot on the moon.
At the foot of the ladder, the lamp footbeds are only depressed in the surface about 1 or 2 inches, although the surface appears to be very, very fine-grained as you get close to it. It's almost like a powder. I'm going to step off the limb now. That's 1 small step for man, 1 giant leap for mankind.
Here's Buzz Aldrin coming down to join Neil, and together they performed a number of scientific experiments. Along with medals honoring their fellow astronauts who lost their lives in the space effort, they left a plaque that read, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot on the moon July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind." And just before they boarded the lunar module for the return trip, they planted the first American flag on the moon. And the flags were out for them when they got home, too. What a reception they got. And they earned it. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Neil Armstrong, right here. Welcome.
Thank you, Bob. Those films bring back some great memories.
And Neil, that was some speech you made when you first stepped on the moon. When did you prepare that?
Actually, I didn't think about that until after we landed on the moon's surface.
Really? You thought that up all by yourself, huh?
Well, it was a little late to call a writers' meeting when you're coming down that ladder.
Maybe that's why I never went there. But I'll tell you, if that was me up there, I probably would have said, "The eagle has landed and so has the chicken."
But, Bob, that trip was a perfect example of teamwork. Thousands of people working on an unprecedented project like that, and nothing serious went wrong.
I'm not sure about that. I heard a nasty rumor that you left home without your American Express card. Neil, before becoming an astronaut, you were a test pilot at NASA's Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base in California, right?
That's right, Bob.
And according to the records, you flew over 200 different models of aircraft, including jets, rockets, helicopters, and gliders. Boy, you're not afraid to face danger, are you?
I'm here.
You gotta laugh, but I'm glad. Tell me, when did you first learn to fly?
When I was 15, Bob.
Oh, you're kidding. 15? When I was 15, the closest I came to flying was having a propeller on my beanie. Neil, a lot of people might not know this, but I should be calling you Professor.
Well, I used to teach and do research at the University of Cincinnati.
Would you like to give me a grade on my monologue?
I don't think so, Bob. I taught aerospace engineering, and I'm used to grading things that get off the ground.
Is it unpatriotic to kick an astronaut in the shins?
Bob, that didn't come out the way I meant it. It was a brilliant monologue. I'd give it an A+.
Oh, nice cop-out. Thank you. A short time after Neil came back from the moon, he appeared with me on some of the shows we were doing in Vietnam. I'd like to show you some of those clips right now. I've had the privilege of meeting some outstanding men in our time, but the very quiet and soft-spoken young man you're about to meet now is a part of a team that provided this world with a thrill they will not soon forget. Ladies and gentlemen, the first man to set foot on the moon, Neil Armstrong, right here.
Thank you, guys. I've been around the world a few times, and I've had a lot of nice, warm receptions, but I've never had a better one than that. Thank you.
It was like this every place we played. They just idolized this man. And at every base, we had a question and answer period.
I'd like to find out, what did it feel like to be the first man to step on the moon?
Well, we were very worried about our first steps on the moon because some experts had predicted just shortly before launch that we would sink into the surface and wouldn't be able to hold our weight at all, and we'd just disappear into the dust. And of course, we were really pleased to find out that they were wrong.
Wait a minute. Is that two girls or one girl with two heads? What is it, darling?
We'd like to know when you're going to take the first woman to the moon. Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. When do you want to go?
We welcome you with open arms. I really think that we'll have some women in space one of these days. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure they'll go when they find out they can go up there and be weightless. Thank you. What's your question, son?
Did you get extra pay for going to the moon?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. But they deducted 50% for government quarters available. And then they deducted for government meals available. And by the time I got done for the whole trip to the moon, back, quarantine, and 8 days down Cape Kennedy per flight, I got $43.
tell you, Neil, they got a kick seeing you there, and they felt that way about you all over the world. They tell me you were decorated by 17 countries.
Well, those were really meant for all of us, Bob, but you've been decorated by quite a few countries yourself.
That's true, and some of those tomato stains just don't come out. Do you have any advice for the youngsters out there who might want to take over your job someday?
Yes, just study hard and be the best at whatever you want to do. The program will find you. And do you have any advice for youngsters who may want to take over your job someday?
Yes, become astronauts.
Bob, NASA's first 25 years were spectacular. And if they can continue to get young people with strengths in science and mathematics, I'm certain the next 25 can be even better.
Well, you certainly gave them a great start. Thank you. Neil Armstrong, ladies and gentlemen. This was the year that NASA put the first woman astronaut into space. There are 8 women in the program, all doctors, and we thought you'd like to meet them. This is Dr. Sally Ride, our first woman in space. It was back in 1978 when she gave her parents the exciting news she'd been selected by NASA as an astronaut candidate.
They're almost as excited as I am. My mother's reaction was that I have another sister who's in theology. She's at a theological seminary, and my mother said, well, one of the two of them is going to get to heaven.
Sally graduated from Stanford University with a bachelor's, master's, and PhD degree in physics. All that work, and she still finds time to keep fit. Dr. Judith Resnick, an electrical engineer from Carnegie Mellon University. Judith hails from Akron, Ohio. Dr. Anna Lee Fisher, whose specialty is emergency medicine.
There's really just 2 frontiers left, the ocean and space. And I really feel that there are whole new frontiers, and man needs that.
Dr. Catherine Dwyer Sullivan. This isn't Catherine's usual ensemble. She's receiving her doctorate in geology from Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. She was born in Paterson, New Jersey, and majored in earth science at the University of California in Santa Cruz.
And I congratulate you. Dr. Sullivan leaves us to go to NASA, the U.S. Space Agency, to be one of the first women to enter the training course as an astronaut. And we wish you good.
Dr. Shannon Lucid from Bethany, Oklahoma, holds bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees from the University of Oklahoma. She's the mother of 3 children, a biochemist, and being a part of the space program has always been her dream. Dr. Margaret Rhea Seddon from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
I think anyone who's interested in going into the space program should choose a field in the sciences that particularly interest them, and then proceed to do quite well in that field, to become successful within that field. It helps, I think, perhaps to have had some flying lessons, perhaps some scuba lessons. Those things are rather applicable to the NASA program. I think it give you good experience.
And these women have been recently joined by Dr. Mary Cleve and Dr. Bonnie Dunbar. Just in case you think they have it easy, look at some of this rugged training they go through. A little parachute practice just in case they have to land before their spaceship does. Of course, you can land anywhere. If someone slips an ocean under you, you have to be ready for that. Reminds me of my vaudeville days. I used to leave hotel rooms like that when I couldn't pay my bill. She lands better than I did. If you don't pull your own weight at NASA, they do it for you. Watch this ride. This comes in handy if you want your eyes and ears on the same side of your head. This is NASA's version of bobbing for astronauts. And when the training is over, like anybody else, they celebrate with a little party. Obviously, with an open bar. All that training pays off. Here's Sally Ride with her fellow crew members, Robert Crippen, Frederick Houck, John Fabian, and Norman Thagard. On June 18, 1983, they all took off on Challenger 7 making her our first woman in space.
Okay, and we've got it on now. You ought to be seeing a picture of it spinning up in the bay from camera Alpha.
Okay, we got that now.
Some jelly beans straight from the White House that we've been enjoying up here. There's Captain Houck making a famous grab.
The Astros could have used him last night. They lost another one.
And Big John. It's a little easier to make the catches here. Much better from this perspective.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet the man who piloted the maiden flight of the Columbia in April 1981, and he was also commander of the Challenger when it took off last June. Here he is, the first man who's been on 2 shuttle flights, Captain Robert Crippen, right here. I'm glad you're here because, now, since you've been a commander, I have a question. What kind of an astronaut do you think I'd make? You know, cool, steely eyes, firm jaw, clear head, lightning-fast reflexes. What do you think?
Well, Bob, I think you'd make a great astronaut. And so would that other fellow you just described.
78 astronauts, and I have to get an honest one. But I do have a lot of first-class flying experience.
Where'd you get it?
Sitting in first class. Tell me, Bob, you went back into space a second time. How come? Did you leave something up there?
I was just lucky. Where can you get a couple of 2-million-mile trips free?
You're right. Well, they could never charge you. You don't even get to see a movie on the flight.
Bob, we were the movie.
That's all right. That's good. Say, you wouldn't be interested in a handsome leading man type for your next flight, would you? Think it over while I introduce our next guest. Here's a young man who graduated in engineering from Penn State, went into the Air Force, flew 144 combat missions in Vietnam, and was one of the astronauts on the last space shuttle, Colonel Guyon Bluford, right here. Let me tell you, Colonel, we're honored to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Bob, and why don't you call me what my friends call me, and that's Guy.
Guy? Well, Guy it is. I know you've had your sights on the space program for a long time, but when were you certain you were going into space?
I was certain when I was going into space when those solid rocket motors lit off. There was really no doubt about
it. Well, you had perfect weather for your first trip into space. Tell me, could you see my house from up there?
Not really, Bob. We were 250 miles up.
That's too bad. I had the marquee lit up and everything. Guy, is it true when you launched that satellite for India, you christened it by breaking a bowl of curry over it?
Well, we would have, Bob, but someone forgot the chutney.
I'm sure they gave him 10 lashes. Gentlemen, it's amazing how practically perfect everything went on both your missions.
That's right, Bob. And everybody involved with it can take a bow for it.
Absolutely. Crip, I meant to ask you, on your flight, was the timeline for the prox ops with spas impacted by the MEAS or OSTA 2 payload bay requirements?
No, Guy. There's no interaction at all with the spas detach operations or RMS test associated with the proximity ops and the payload bay experiments. However, the MIA is elevated for thermal dissipation when the payload bay doors are open.
Well, I could have told you that. But you guys really did a great job.
Thank you, Bob, but every NASA flight is a team effort.
That's right, Bob. Those of us in the spacecraft are just guys on the squad.
Boy, that's what I call humility. And I'm not too familiar with that. Because with us hams, humility isn't one of our strong points. Let's hear it again for Captain Robert Crippen and Colonel Guy Bluford, right here.
Hi,
My name is Merlin Olson, and I've always enjoyed giving my friends a little tickle. Just a little tickle now and then to brighten their day and give them a lift. In fact, I still enjoy tickling my friends. But now I do it with this, the FTD Tickler Bouquet. A fun, inexpensive way to let someone know you're thinking about them. The FTD Tickler Bouquet, a great way to tickle your friends. And remember, only your FTD florist has it.
Start at the dawn of a new day, feeling the sun shining strong. Follow the trail where it's leading you and discover a place you belong. In Ontario, see Ontario, 'cause it's yours to discover and you're gonna love it in Ontario.
Lisa Papalardo thinks she's tasting her mother's homemade spaghetti sauce.
Perfect.
But her mother really gave her ragu home-style spaghetti sauce.
Look at all those green chunks and things in there. It's got pieces of tomato. And it doesn't taste like a jarred sauce. I can spot those in a minute.
Ragu home-style tastes like homemade because it's made like homemade.
This isn't my mother's?
No, it isn't. It's from a jar.
You're kidding.
I know.
Oh, there's a time, my dear, when you go out, my dear, to take a wine, my dear, a wine that has some flair. That wine is Hochtaler. Oh, yes, it's Hochtaler. Oh, what a wine, my dear.
Hochtaler, a crisp white wine for taking places.
I'll tell you straight, my dear, what wine to take, my dear. I say you take Hochtaler, they welcome you, my dear.
It only happens once a year.
Simpsons has it.
Our biggest sale of the year. Our lowest prices of the year.
Simpsons has it.
Simpsons' #1 sale. Your #1 chance to save.
Simpsons has it.
Simpsons' #1 sale. On now.
It's back. It's bingo in the Toronto Sun with over $225,000 in prizes. Check the numbers daily. Match them on the card you received at the mail-in. Bingo! You could be a winner. We're giving away $100,000 in cash. A fully detached, all-brick, 3-bedroom home with luxury features in Westney Heights. 5 trips to Freeport, the Bahamas with Carousel Tours. A 1984 Nissan 4-wheel drive Hustler.
Unfortunately, the suit is so stiff I can't do this with 2 hands, but I'm going to try a little sand trap shot here. They got more dirt than ball that time. The more dirt than ball. Here we go again.
That looked like a slice to me, Al.
There we go. 3 of the die. 1 more. Miles and miles and miles.
You know, we're very honored to have in our audience today one of our great heroes, really the first American to journey into space. Space commander of Apollo 14, the first man to hit a golf ball on the moon, chief of our astronauts, and a delegate to the 26th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Rear Admiral Alan Shepard, right here. Thank you, Alan. You have the great distinction. You're the first man to play golf on the moon. Why'd you do it?
Well, I didn't have much choice, really.
What do you mean?
The bowling alley was closed.
When I heard, I just didn't believe that you hit a golf ball up there on that thing. I just couldn't believe it.
Bob, I'll tell you what I did for you. For the first time in public, I brought the golf club that actually hit the shot on the moon. I'm going to show it to you today.
You're kidding. You got it with you? I got to see that.
golf club?
And that's the way it comes? Looks like Crosby's after he makes a bad shot.
I just put it on the end of it. Ordinary 6-iron, and there you are.
Is that a go? Isn't that something, huh? Oh, that's beautiful. I love that, Daddy. I may take that with me when I go. I'm going as soon as I get a bigger capsule. I don't want to go with two fellas because people talk, but I'm going. Here's the man who made the first flight into space as well as later trip to the moon where he not only made history, but also managed to break par. Retired astronaut Admiral Alan Shepard, right here. Admiral Allen, not only were you our first man in space, but one of the first to walk on the moon.
Bob, would you believe that I still get mail addressed to Alan Shepard Moon? The post office keeps complaining.
How come?
No zip code.
Well, when you hit that ball on the moon, I couldn't see where it went. Where'd it go?
I made a crater in one.
And you still got the club?
No, I gave the original to the United States Golf Association for their museum in New Jersey, and a copy of it is actually at the Smithsonian in Washington.
You know some of my jokes are there?
Are they that good?
Now, you must feel real good about the progress considering you were the first man in space, huh?
I do, and you know that flight only lasted 15 minutes, but it got a lot of publicity.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Zsa Zsa Gabor marriage.
You know, I didn't actually orbit the Earth on that first flight.
Oh, don't worry about it. Nobody's perfect.
I just shot way up in the air and landed in the water.
Sounds like one of my 9-iron shots. Hey, I remember those words you said back to Earth when you got up there 115 miles up into space.
Yeah, I looked down and shouted, "What a beautiful view."
Yeah, I remember those words well. They're the same ones I utter each morning when I look into my mirror.
You'd probably look even better from 115 miles away.
I'm going to let him get away with that just because he's a hero.
You really would enjoy that view, Bob.
No, I don't think so. I get a nosebleed when Susan Anton gives me a piggyback ride. You're also our first man to hit a golf shot on the moon. I mean, not counting some of Jerry Ford's tee shots. Alan, how would you compare today's astronauts to the guys who were around when you started out?
Well, Bob, in the early days, we were primarily test pilots, and nowadays, space flight has gotten so complicated, these guys have to be a lot smarter than we were.
Well, and they say that Henry Kissinger is the world's greatest diplomat. You are. Thank you, Alan, very much. Alan Shepard, ladies and gentlemen. On our Christmas show of 1977, Perry Como and Olivia Newton-John joined me in a little takeoff on Star Wars. Completely out of character, I played the part of the bad guy, Darth Vader. It went like this.
Hello? Merry Christmas, Intergalactic Space Patrol. If you go faster than light, we can still clock it, because we've got a cop in an unmarked rocket. Princess Olivia speaking. Of course, I'm using a princess phone. What? Santa Claus has been hijacked by a mysterious spaceship. Why, this is the worst thing that happened since the planet Pluto got fleas. This is serious. I'd better call the most daring and relaxed astronaut in the whole solar system. Hark! I think I hear him coming now.
all day and night you'll find me. And counting all the sheep behind me. I need some no-dos to remind me. I'm just a prisoner.
No wonder they call you Luke Sleepwalker. Wake up. Wake up.
I'll get a job tomorrow, Mom.
You must do something. Santa Claus has been hijacked.
Galloping galaxies. There's only one man in the universe capable of pulling a crime like that. And that's that solar system swine.
You mean?
I have Santa Claus and you'll never get it.
When I was 17, we took a senior class trip to Dallas. We stayed at this great old hotel, the Piedmont. It was love at first sight. I went back home to the library and read everything I could about hotels. How-to books, biographies, management theories, memoirs.
I'm the pit. I am Cole Linguini. I'm the pit. I'm an Idi Amini. I'm a lunar louse who will tear your house to bits. So, baby, I'm Bob Vader. I'm the pit.
Where did you get a name like Vader?
I used to serve food in a delicatessen on Venus. All day long, people kept yelling, Vader, Vader. That's how.
I've heard of your evil deeds, Barf. How you swiped the Van Allen belt and his pants fell down.
You think that's bad? This man stole the rings off Saturn and sold them to Sammy Davis Jr.
You think that's rotten? Last night, I punctured a hole in the Milky Way and let it drip all over Pat Boone's shoe.
That's rotten with a capital rot.
Yeah, I love it. Now I've got Santa Claus and you'll never get him back. Why am I always laughing instead of the audience?
Vader!
Your coleslaw's coming right up.
No, we want Santa back. Every man has a price, you know.
Hmm?
What's your proposition?
Where's your sticker price? What time do you get through with work? We can go to a Mars bar and fool around a little, huh?
Well, I never.
Try it, you'll like it.
Return Santa Claus to us for the children.
Never.
There'll be billions of empty stockings all over the universe.
Yeah, especially on Jupiter. The kids have 8 legs.
You should see the centipedes there.
You must you must want something.
I want Olivia as my bride.
Oh, yeah? Over my dead meteor.
What?
Oh!
No, not that!
This is a lightsaber.
Oh, goody. It'll make my breath kissing sweet.
No, saber. And besides this weapon, I have a force.
Yeah?
And the force will keep Princess Olivia from your clutches.
Oh, and I have a force of my own. A force that will send her running into my arms.
What's that?
The credit card force. I also want to thank Alan Shepard, Neil Armstrong, Sally Ride, Guy Bluford, and Bob Crippen, and all those other brave astronauts who joined us on film. I'm indebted to NASA for providing us with all the film that helped us relive the pride and excitement of seeing our first man in space, in orbit, and on the moon. I don't think any show has played host to more international heroes than we've had tonight. And a special tribute to the late astronauts, Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee, who lost their lives while on duty at Cape Kennedy. And a salute to John Young. He's had a record 5 space missions and is scheduled for number 6. And let's not forget Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmidt. A little serenade to their fellow traveler, Ronald Evans.
I was strolling on the moon one day in the merry, merry month of December. No, May's the month. May, that's right. May is the year of the month.
And although NASA makes it look so easy, there was a time it didn't work. Remember how we all held our breaths in April of 1970 when astronauts James Lovell, Fred Hayes, and John Swigert ran into a detour on their way to NASA's third manned lunar landing attempt. They had to forget the moon and hurry back to Earth before running out of oxygen. They made it safely, but while they were coming down, they passed many of the prayers that we had been sending up. And Frank Borman, William Anders, and James Lovell, on the first flight to the moon in December 1968, they remembered it was Christmas.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light.
But with all its remarkable success, NASA still needs all the help it can get. And they're looking for it from the youth of our nation. We can lose our lead unless our young people get into the race to conquer space. NASA, the whole country, needs more students, male and female, to get into mathematics, engineering, all sciences. A permanent space station landing on other planets. Our whole future in space and aeronautics depend largely on the young people of America becoming involved in the space program. And what a successful program it's been. The discoveries of communication, bioscience, astronomy, agriculture, aeronautics, and medicine are fantastic. And it's not too fantastic to believe the mystery of cancer will be finally solved in space. I envy America's youth. This stimulating adventure is waiting for them. Our future's in outer space, and the future belongs to the young. They're going to be traveling to places where only fantasies and daydreams trespassed before. There's no limit to where we can go. And I know when NASA does reach a limit, it has the knowledge, the vision, and the capability to strive toward infinity. With NASA, we've reached the stars. With NASA, we'll go beyond the stars. More giant steps for mankind are still ahead of us. Thank you. Good night.